podcast with Amanda, Shandy, and Colleen. My name is Colleen.
My name is Amanda.
And I'm Shandy.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Season 5, Episode 38, Episode 218. How's it going?
Whew.
How you feeling, Amanda?
Ugh, miserable.
She's officially in early term.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not in any place to complain because for the most of the run of this experience has been very tame. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I am not allowed to complain, but goddamn, I am uncomfortable.
But you're allowed to complain, especially at the end, because, you know, there's like a cantaloupe inside of you.
Yeah, basically. It's like every day you feel a little bigger. Now even the maternity clothes are starting to fit a little less cute.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of have a little bit of the gosh, what is it called? Where like, you know, you can kind of see a little bit of your belly like underneath your shirt, not like a plumber's crack, but like whatever.
Yeah, the opposite plumber's crack, yeah.
Yeah, the front version of that.
Oh.
But I refuse to buy anything else because I'm like, well, it's for 3 weeks.
You're
like whatever.
So close to the end.
I'm not going outside anyway.
Exactly. So we're recording this episode on Tuesday, March 30th, but this is going to air on Friday, April 9th. So, I mean, who knows? You might even have a baby by then.
I might.
Crazy.
I'm kind of hoping I don't because, again, my last day of work is on the 16th, and I at least want like a couple of days of like no work freedom.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, you know, baby gonna do what baby gonna do, and I have to be on board with that. So
exactly. That's all right, though. What on earth?
Is someone doing a little remodeling?
Is somebody tap dancing?
Can I tell you about what's going on next door?
Yeah. Please do.
Because it's real fun. Brought to you by the same people who, or whose parents, I guess, thought it was appropriate to fly a drone and to look into our window.
These neighbors.
Yeah. They are doing like, you know, crazy... some sort of crazy add-on. We thought it was a porch. Now I think it's a garage, even though they don't actually have an alleyway to get in there. We sort of like share this driveway that goes to like where we park, and then they could use it, I say, to go to the back of their house, but they don't actually have the right to use it because it doesn't belong to them, and our landlord never gave them that right, but they've been using it all the time to do this work on their house. This has been going on since January.
Oh my
God. And they never bothered to come over and like tell us about it, maybe give us a heads up, actually ask us if they could use, you know, because like if you're gonna drive down for a second and like unload stuff, like fine, but fucking tell like the tenants of this actual building whose cars you are blocking in. That's been a sticking point, which I thought we were friends with these neighbors, but apparently they don't hold us in high enough esteem to, I don't know, give us a heads up. Like they have my number. Anyway, so that's been a whole thing that's been like boiling underneath the surface for 2 months. And then they're doing like this very lengthy add-on, and we just, you know, have no idea like how long to expect. You know, I don't know if it's just like not the normal etiquette in the US to tell your neighbors, but like there's been no heads up of like, hey, for the next however many months. So Frank was talking to, so one of the neighbors is there. One of the neighbors' dads is there right now because they're visiting. Mm-hmm. And Frank happened to be talking to him like, because they crossed paths, and like asked him how, you know, how is it going and blah, blah, blah. And so the dad informed him that, you know, it's going good, but it's, you know, it's pretty slow because, you know, the workers are only going to be coming on Saturdays.
Oh my, of course.
Right.
So that's fun. It's like, let's see how obnoxious this can be. Anyway, that's what's going on. If you hear somebody hammering, it's the neighbor's dad who's like taken up the work himself and feels like it's appropriate after 5 o'clock to be doing that.
Jeez. So your neighbors own their unit?
They own their house.
Okay, because I feel like this is a lot of work for a rental.
Oh, no. They own the house next door, and they think that they own our driveway, but they don't.
Yeah. My parents' house growing up, our driveway was behind the house, so we had like a shared right of way. So I'm very familiar with right of way etiquette and how it can be abused.
Right. And the thing is, they specifically do not, like my landlord, even I talked to him and he was like, I have never even talked to that, because they told their workers once that they had talked to our landlord and got the okay.
Oh.
And then I talked to the landlord to be like, wait, is this? And he was like, I've never even talked to him. I've never even met him.
Awesome.
So they are well aware of what they are doing. They are intentionally doing it.
100%. Which is like, I wouldn't necessarily, if you had the common decency and respect to come over, knock on the people's doors here, especially us, like, because like they can shoot me a text, tell us like, hey, we're going to be doing work. Is it okay? Then no problem whatsoever. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, but it's just right outside. So yeah.
But like, what if you had to run out to the store? Like, seriously. Like, more importantly, what if someone fell and seriously hurt themselves and you need to like get out and go to urgent care? It's like you got to walk over there and be like, excuse me, can you get all your crap out of the right of way so I can get my car out?
Well, that's 100% it. And on Friday, they were down there for an extended period of time. I had to ask them multiple times to move each of their 3 trucks that were down there.
Jeez.
And that's exactly what we were saying. Like, if anyone had a medical emergency, we're just kind of fucked. Like, you know. Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry.
Infuriating.
That is infuriating. It's just like you think you have cool neighbors until it really counts. And then it's like, oh, I see who you are.
Yeah. Until you don't.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Shandy. That sucks.
Anyway, that's fine. But thanks for letting me vent.
Anytime.
We have actual cool neighbors that we share a wall with in the next unit over, and we have been like texting back and forth, which makes me feel better that like, okay, I'm not crazy. They like co-sign that this is insane behavior. Okay.
That's super
okay. So we commiserate together. But
at least there should hopefully be an end in sight, I guess. I remember our neighbors from the
Who
town.
knows?
Yeah, right. That's true. It could be like LaGuardia. It's just never going to end.
No, if they're only working.
Someday LaGuardia will be done. I think it will be worth it. That's what I keep telling myself.
I remember when my grandma told me that she was happy Trump was elected because he was going to get LaGuardia done as a businessman. And here we are 5 years later.
That's cute.
How'd that work out? Yeah.
I think they're back to blaming.
They'll finish.
Well, it's true. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
They'll finish eventually, but also by only doing the work on Saturday, the one day that, might want to sleep in, it's just, it's going to be a snail's pace. Awesome.
Yeah. Boo.
So, yeah.
As it goes, we are actually 9 days into, I think, dry April, which we decided to do.
Oh, cool. Why?
Because I've gained more weight and I'm just frustrated, and I feel like the only thing I have control over, since exercising isn't helping and eating better isn't helping, the only thing other thing I have control over is to try another dry month. I don't know. January was stressful in general, so maybe without the stresses of I don't know. So we decided to do that until our anniversary. Plus, I'm hoping that I will be able to be vaccinated next week or a few days ago by this coming out, because it opens up here for everyone next week. So
exciting!
My cousin's getting married in New Orleans in May, and I'm hoping that if I can get it next week, then I'll have, or next week, or I think the week after, I will have both doses before I go, which I know is
great.
I am hoping to. I'm hoping to, and by that I mean I got my plane tickets this morning, so I'm going to have to do a lot of refreshing around the state to try to find an appointment.
That is very exciting.
Yeah, I have a whole browser with just tabs that search for open appointments. There's like 3 or 4.
Nice.
But as the time that this airs, Shandy is fully vaccinated. Amanda will be fully vaccinated as of tomorrow, right?
As of tomorrow.
And actually, as of the time that this airs, I will be fully, immunized. They will be fully working.
Yeah. Jay got his vaccination today. But
yay.
Yeah. And Amanda, I meant to say this before. If you're getting ultrasounds every week, I want to see an ultrasound.
Okay, I can send you pictures. I mean, they haven't happened yet, but in the future,
I want
when they do start happening.
Yay!
I mean, there'll be so many of them. I can give them out as like party favors.
Oh, that's
I can mail you one if you want it.
I'm good. I can print it out myself.
Okay. Well, that's true. Well, I'll actually see you when you guys drive through. Yeah. So I'll be sure to slip one in your little goodie bag of things that I've got collecting for you.
A goodie bag of things for me? I'm supposed to be dropping off a goodie bag of things for you.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like this.
Just a couple little thank yous.
All right. All right. I was filling in my April calendar, and I got to the birthday section, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get to add a new birthday to it this month. This year.
Yeah, I had no idea April is such a busy month.
I know. I only have like 3 birthdays in April. Jay's grandma, Sarah Gardeski, and Jim Watari. So,
nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to build up add some more ink to the old April page here.
Nice.
That's good. Yeah, when we were doing like predictions with my family, it was like everyone was like, well, this day in April because it's like my birthday or our anniversary or like this thing. I was like, wow, we have a lot of events in April. I had no idea.
That's like our August. There's so many birthdays in August on both sides of the family. It's March, June, and August. June is actually probably the busiest.
Okay.
So you have my grandma, my aunt, Jay, and then you've got anniversaries and birthdays and blah, blah, blah. I mean, more birthdays. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah. Well, your anniversary is in April, right?
I'm April 29th.
Yeah.
Which you can have a baby on the 29th. Oh, yeah, and Shandy's the 22nd?
15th, tax day.
15th? Oh, okay. I knew you were a week. You're 2 weeks ahead of me. I knew you were like the same, 2 weeks or 1 week spaced out.
We're within a pay period.
Yeah. We could both afford each other's weddings.
That's a very American way to frame it.
That's a good point. I get paid on the day. I get paid on your birthday and the day after my anniversary. Awesome.
Nice.
Perfect.
15th and the 30th, man. You know that there are certain in North Carolina, and this happened in my first job too. We get paid like on the first of the month. And Jay's sister's a teacher here, and she gets paid the first day of the month, and that's it, like for the month.
That's terrible.
That's rough.
She likes it because she feels like she can budget her whole month out, like to a T.
Power to her. That's the whole thing. Is like I feel like I can't budget my whole month out like that because I'm just not very good at budgeting or self control. So
I can't budget at all.
Yeah.
I have tried to make a budget for myself countless times. I just cannot do it. I just cannot do it. I cannot budget.
I can. I'm good at it. We've talked about it. There's always something else. There's always something that comes up, though, that throws it off. Or, like, Jay will just make an impulse purchase or, because he's not good at the whole budget. And I'll be like, come on. Like, did you have to? He's like, oh, I was at the flea market and it was blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, really? You've got like 15 Ghostbusters cars. What do you need this one? Well, I could sell this one if I fix it up. I just got to get the stickers and the parts. And I'm like, so this is an investment. We're putting more things in. Like, you got to buy parts for it. But then you're going to sell it and you're going to take the profit to pay off your credit card and all that I have invested that came out of my... It might be a thing. Anyway, okay, we are here to talk about the movie Nomadland tonight.
Yeah. Speaking of budgeting.
That
actually probably is a fairly good segue.
It is a great segue.
Yes.
Going from a capitalist society where like buying things to the very opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, right. One that highlights some of the flaws of capitalism and some of the good parts, but a lot of the not good parts. So, Nomadland, does anybody want to give a brief description of the plot?
Does anyone happen to have IMDb pulled up?
Well, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, I have that open. And about 15 tabs about the true story versus the movie.
Stars, as we talked about, it stars Frances McDormand as a woman who leaves her hometown of Empire, Nevada, after her husband dies and the soul industry closes down. So she becomes houseless and travels around the United States, mostly the Western United States. But yeah, so we see what happens when an older woman, because she's supposed to be 60, maybe?
Yeah.
Old enough for early retirement, but
yeah, they asked,
not old enough to retire.
Did they say you're
outright.
60?
So probably I would put her late 50s, very early 60s.
Oh, that was the other woman's story who said you're 60-something. Do you want to take your early retirement? So the reason that her industry closes down is she had lived in one of those towns that was driven by a soul manufacturing company, and her husband worked for it and she worked for it and the whole town worked for it, and it closed down in, I think it was 2011, they say, as a part of the Great Recession of 2008, 2009.
Yeah, so this film takes place,
a few years after,
several years ago.
Right, but it takes place in the early 2010s, like so
2011, 2012-ish,
yeah.
I think is.
Yeah. So the industry, they closed it down. Everyone had to leave the town because they owned all the houses there and everything. And they discontinued the zip code because nobody lived there anymore, which was kind of actually shocking
Just
to hear.
a real sad way to open a movie.
Right. But also
It really sets the tone.
It really does set the tone. But, it just goes to on one way. And then I think it's kind of interesting how Amazon, another giant company, which I don't think has taken over any one town yet, right? To be the sole employer, but it's also this horrible company that is exploiting its workers. She takes seasonal jobs, so seasonal work for Amazon, for state parks, and whatnot. Yeah. In order to make ends meet, she lives out of her van, and it's just a really interesting look at a community and lifestyle that you kind of know somewhat exists, but it's one of those things that society kind of doesn't look too kindly on or give much credence to. But these people just have this wonderful sense of community, and it's a way to really look at another way of life and learn compassion and understanding for how other people live. And the movie is based on a book that was the true stories of a woman named Jessica Bruder. The movie itself is fictionalized, but it's based on the stories within her book. So there are characters in the story who are actual real life nomads that are playing themselves, like Swanky's character, Linda May.
Linda May.
The dude with the Santa Claus beard who was kind of their guru. They're all actual real life nomads where they were playing fictionalized versions of themselves, with the exception of Swanky, who is, of course, has a different fate than what her movie character's fate is.
Right.
Yeah.
That explains why in the credits, because I noticed that their names were the same as their character names. So I was that's interesting. And then got distracted by something else. But now I understand.
I think that was the only thing I knew about the movie going into it, was that some of the supporting characters were actual nomads. So they were playing. I didn't know if they were playing a version of themselves, but I knew that they were in with the community.
Yeah,
that's really impressive because you wouldn't.
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. No, I interrupted you.
No. I was saying, and they did a really great job acting wise.
Exactly, you wouldn't know it that they weren't necessarily actual, professionals. That's really great.
Yeah,
I mean, especially to be playing alongside Frances McDormand.
Who is just so incredible.
Yeah. I mean, she's got to be the best scene partner around, though. She strikes me as the kind of actor that would make anyone they're in a scene with, sing.
Yeah, she makes some interesting, wonderfully dynamic acting choices, too, in some of her deliveries and whatnot. I'm sorry, I just saw a headline that Matt Gaetz is under investigation for a relationship with a teenage girl, and God, really? What the fuck? Sorry.
Who's Matt Gaetz?
Matt Gaetz, the human frat paddle from Florida, he's a congressman from Florida who is the Trumpiest, most obnoxious. He had the teenage son that's not really his son, and it's all sorts of fucking weird. You know
too
who
long,
Matt
didn't
Gates.
read.
You know who Matt Gates is.
AKA, this seems like it's par for the course.
Yeah.
He's very Trumpy. He's probably going to primary Rubio. Him and Ivanka are probably. It's going to be anyway. He's an asshole. He's a
don't care.
Horrible human being. You'll know his picture if you saw him because he's one of the like more Ted Cruz-y vocal ones. Anyway, that's exciting, Shandy. Gonna have to read about that when we're done. May have to text Mike too. Okay, anyway, so what was I fucking talking about?
I don't know. Oh, Frances McDormand.
Oh yeah, she just makes these wonderful choices. Like
she's a very accessible actor.
She is. It's interesting because she's not like, I don't know, she's one of those people that it seems like she chooses the projects that she wants to work in.
Oh, 100%.
And that's pretty awesome. Isn't she the one that was married to
one of the Coens?
The Coens? Joel Coen.
Really?
Is she not anymore?
She still is.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way you framed it, I'm like, oh no, did they get divorced? That's sad.
No, I was thinking of the other Frances who was with not Steven Spielberg. Cliff, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I talked to a chair at the Republican convention.
Oh, Charlton Heston?
No.
What? No, that's the NRA.
Clint
Michael
Eastwood.
Denham, sorry.
Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood. I was thinking of that woman who was in Titanic. Sorry, she's another Frances. Okay, this is definitely neither here nor there.
Oh, like the mom?
The mom in the Titanic was at one point married, or she definitely had a baby with Clint Eastwood.
Oh, wow. No way. I didn't know that.
And now, at least as of a couple of years ago, Clint Eastwood's wife is like 30 years old, and Franck served them.
Oh
my!
At a restaurant.
And you're sure it was
in Carmel, which he used to be the fucking mayor or whatever of.
Really?
Yeah.
Good times. You know, it's kind of funny. By the time this episode comes out, that whole Matt Gaetz story is going to be old news.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Or last. You heard it here last. A whole show dedicated to a movie, and the episode title is probably going to be about Matt Gaetz. All right, back to Nomadland. What did you guys think? Sorry.
I thought it was lovely. I thought it was a really nice just window. You know, the story is kind of a window into a world we don't normally see, but it's also an age group that normally doesn't get featured in a positive way on the big screen.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to think of any movie that features that many senior folk, and it's always something that's sort of comedic, and they're the butt of the joke, and it's like, what are we going to do before we kick the bucket? Or
Yeah. And they're usually dudes, too. Definitely.
And they're usually dudes. If it is women, that it plays on this like post-menopausal, they're always just the butt of the joke, and no one was the butt of the joke in this movie. This movie was just a beautiful, artistic look,
and
at a group of people that are not represented in film, usually, traditionally.
Yeah.
Yep.
And even the story was just, honestly, I didn't know what to expect going in, but I was looking forward to it because Shandy had given a good recommendation. And Jay was coming home from band practice, and he was like 10 minutes out. He's like, just start without me, catch me up. It'll be fine. I don't want to watch it. And then by midway through, he was crying and more emotionally invested in it than I was. I was like, is it okay if we stop it for me to pee and refill my drink? Otherwise, I know you're feeling the feels here. So
It's true. Dude, when the plates broke, both Daniel and I gasped.
Yeah.
We were like, not the plates!
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then she glued it back together, which was such a great metaphor for her life, right? She kept just gluing things back together. And
just picking up the pieces and keep moving forward.
Right.
Totally.
And it's, that's also, if you think about what we're taught about in American society, you work hard, you're successful, you can retire because you've earned your retirement, and then you get to, either take a retirement job to get out of the house or supplement your Social Security if you need to, which again is, what we're taught, even though it goes to the other point here, or you'll be fine. And that just isn't the reality, especially after it isn't the reality. And the Great Recession clearly fucked up a whole bunch of people's plans. But even without that, that community existed before that happened. Like that man with his YouTube channel, which is a real channel, I believe. That existed for a reason. So like, just an interesting look at another layer of society where it's not like this American dream that you're taught, that you can absolutely have it, but there has to be the right generally it's situation and circumstance. And this woman and her friends worked hard their whole lives, and then out of their control, next thing you know, they're choosing to live out of their vans.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I thought it was visually beautiful. I liked, just like you said, Amanda, seeing a story about an age group that is not usually represented, especially women. The places that she went were beautiful, and a lot of them, are places I go to. So it was fun to see that. And there's something beautiful and poetic about a sort of nomadic life that I think appeals to us all on some level. But then the other side of that coin is the fact that this woman, was living a perfectly comfortable lower middle class life. And then through no fault of her own, all of a sudden she's basically houseless. I liked that.
I like that too. I'm not
as well, that distinction. But it really shows, the problems in the US or any society when you don't have a social safety net, an adequate one at least. And honestly, it really reminded me of my grandparents, not that they were nomads, but they worked really, really hard all of their lives. And my grandpa worked, basically until the day that he died, and could barely get by, It's that shouldn't happen. And it makes me really sad because I think that we just really don't respect our elders in this country or Western society in general. And I sort of yearn for a society where we would actually value and take care of the elderly, because if we're lucky, we're all going to end up there. And you shouldn't have to, as beautiful as it is to be a nomad, you can't do that when you're 80, for example. Or, I mean, depending on your health, there's going to come a time where society needs to take care of you. And if society's not built up that way, then, that nobody should have to have a difficult end of their life. So it was beautiful, but it was also, it was very gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that there's also the element that she chose to do that because she was dealing with, the loss of her everything. But even so,
right. I mean, but there should be a way for her to retain her independence and not necessarily have to, because you could say, okay, why didn't she just accept her sister's offer to live, with her? And many people maybe would. And you could say that's the safety net. It doesn't come from the government in the US. It comes from your family. Well, what if you don't have, family? But also there should be a way for her to retain her independence and also, not be so precarious in her situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's a very good point. And and to that point, it's when, there's a scene where her van breaks down, and that's why she goes to visit her sister, because she doesn't have the funds to fix it. And the mechanic or whatever is telling her that, really for the amount it's going to cost, you should just sell it and invest in something else. And she's like, this is my home. It's not that simple. And the fact that there is no safety net that yes, you can choose this life, but there are, it's not so black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like the quote from the beginning of the movie, home isn't just a word, it's something that you carry within you. I thought that was really just a powerful kind of setting the tone for the movie.
Yeah.
I was kind of bummed that she didn't get with David. I mean, I understood why, but Jay was like, no, go back.
But I think that's also what makes that what makes the story interesting. Because, yeah, it sort of sets up this traditional trope that we are used to in films that, oh, this is the love interest.
Yeah, exactly.
And that they're going to get together in the end. And it's like she can't let go. She can't let enough of her past go to completely move forward.
Yes. And that scene at the end, oh my God, just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I realized, because it's like that, the last shot, and I realized they had done this a few times throughout the film, that you have these big sweeping shots of wide open space America, and it's like the camera is trying to find her van. So it's like you see the country first, and then the camera kind of slowly meanders and like finds its way to the van, and the van is home.
Yeah.
And it's just
yeah, it was
a well-made movie.
Yes, directed.
Good job, Chloe Zhao.
Yes, directed and edited by Chloe Zhao.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I didn't realize that she wrote, directed, and edited the movie, which is like so much work. Which is probably why this film took place in like 2011. That's probably how long she's been working on it. That is a lot to do.
Well, if you're going to do all that, pandemic's a perfect time for post-production.
Right.
No.
Well, so what I had read was that Frances McDormand and somebody else had bought the rights to the book after the novel came out, and then Frances McDormand approached Chloe Zhao after seeing another film she had made and was like, I would really like you to help me make this into a movie.
Wow.
That makes sense. Because, I saw Frances McDormand has a producer credit.
Yeah.
So it
might be Peter Spears, looking at the Wikipedia page, might have been the other person that owns the rights with her, but I don't remember off the top of my head. And I've got too many tabs opened and to scroll around now.
I mean, you guys don't listen to us because of our accuracy and facts.
Yeah, seriously.
You can Google.
I edit it out when we're wrong anyway.
If you wanted like the real dish, you would go to an actual film podcast. Come on, guys.
Okay, she is 61, confirmed.
Okay.
And
all right.
according to time.com, she's 61. This book came out in 2017. While researching the book, Jessica Bruder spent years following nomads across the country. So she wasn't a nomad herself. She just spent months living as a nomad in a secondhand van named Helen, in an effort to better understand her subjects. Let's see.
I did like that fact that people named their vehicle.
Yeah, kind of like how people name their musical instruments.
Yeah. It's like you give it a personality by giving it a name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it's going to be your home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might as well.
Mm-hmm.
Any last thoughts on the movie before we move into listener feedback?
I'm scrolling through Wikipedia to see if that.
Okay. So the book
Yeah.
Nomadland, Surviving America in the 21st Century, is centered on Linda May, who was living in her secondhand Jeep. And so I guess the book was originally based on Linda May following her around, which is why she was such an awesome character.
She was a great character.
Yeah, she was.
So Jessica Bruder accompanied her kind of around. But yeah, it's just an interesting look on society and lifestyles, and even the way that these companies just use people and then just like discard them like they're nothing. Because even Amazon, like they, wasn't there another documentary or something? Because Jay and I both remembered it, but we couldn't remember where we had seen the story of people who literally live in RVs and will follow Amazon jobs around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Where did we see that? Because that's a thing.
Yeah, I
According
can't
to
think
the
of it
internet.
though. I keep thinking of American Factory, but that's different.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess one of the big takeaways here for me was, I don't know, the world is a lot more complicated and precious than we were taught growing up. And it's always nice to have more compassion and getting to know the way of life of others, because, walk a mile in somebody's shoes and You only see 10%. What you see on the surface is only 10% of what's going on underneath and all of that.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's move in some feedback.
Let's do it.
All right, and we have a little bit of feedback from Frank.
Okay, so Frank says that Nomadland could be compared to the videos and documentaries that we've been watching about French people who go on vacation with their RVs. And so it's like vacation in France versus RV in the US to actually just like survive and go and find like these little jobs here and there. Is it really a choice? Did they really choose like in Nomadland? So like, whereas in France, it would be like retirees versus in the US, like we don't have like the same retirement system.
Right.
And so, and what we're seeing in this movie is like people having a pretty difficult life, versus like the French version, which would be much more comfortable. Whereas like the difference between survival versus leisure with an RV. And he says, we don't see that in France.
Yeah.
And it's maybe the lack of the social system in the US.
Probably a bit of both.
Social safety net.
My guess is
there's a lack of socialist system. That's what that means. Like,
right.
Yeah.
My guess would be is when faced with no other choice, those people made the choice to live like that. Does that make sense?
Well, sure, but it's like, why didn't they have any other choice?
Exactly.
Right. Like,
exactly.
Why? Yeah.
And so he goes on to say that we have this impression of that we like don't think about or like forget about these, traveling people because they're kind of like, the hidden face of the numbers that we don't necessarily or the statistics that we don't necessarily want to talk about in the US.
Yeah.
Which, so they're like the hidden face of the social misery in the US.
Yeah.
He goes on to say that the film, is also about the fatality of how Americans adapt more easily to this sort of like in social injustice. And we, see a lot of women, which we already covered, was a really interesting part of the film. But then Frank goes on to wonder if, the COVID crisis is going to accentuate the number of nomads that we saw in this movie. And I think that's definitely fair.
I think that's a very good possibility.
Yeah, I'm certain that that's an actuality.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But then he does go on to say, like, more on a more positive note, even if the movie shows misery, it also transmits an emotion of how a simple life can bring things and allow you to like forget about superfluous things like capitalism and everything that's like our like creature comforts that we're so used to. And it almost makes us want to be in their place to sort of like separate ourselves from a life of consumerism.
Yeah. That's a good observation.
But really it's just the tip of the iceberg. And what was interesting was also that Frank said that, a lot of people live in their cars in Silicon Valley, for example, because they can't afford to live in a house. Mm-hmm. And even like, university professors and like people who work in tech, you'll see them living in their cars in like the Silicon Valley area, for like miles around Palo Alto. You'll see these people. And Frank was saying that he's literally seen them with his own eyes when he was driving Uber.
Oh, man.
Which, is not something that we really think about. So it's like, in summary, the U.S. is really and always has been two extremes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for those observations, Frank. Those are really good. Those are really deep. We have one. And we have one more piece of feedback from Matt. He said, I watched Nomadland a few weeks ago and really liked it. It wasn't as depressing as I expected, but shows this life for what it is without being preachy. While I now see why Carey Mulligan is the favorite to win the Oscar, Frances McDormand is great, as I said in my feedback. It's also a beautiful looking movie. It's another reason why I miss going to the movies. On another movie note, I watched Promising Young Women. And wow, I'm sure this is already on your radar for award seasons, but this is one you three could really sink your teeth into. Matt, we are going to try to watch that within the upcoming weeks before Amanda's maternity leave and watch it. So if anybody else out there has any feedback about it, Martha spoke highly of it. So clearly, and Matt did, obviously. So two big endorsements there, and we'll have to check it out. So if anybody has any feedback on it, let us know. We'll try to watch it for an upcoming episode. All right, let's get to a voicemail from Maggie. And I don't think this is about the movie, so just regular feedback. Here we go.
Hey, Amanda, Shandy, and Colleen. It's Maggie. A few weeks ago, you were talking about like coat fashion and how the pandemic is going to change that, how it might. So I've been back at work for about a month, and it has definitely changed what I wear to work. I was always like wearing something with pockets, so I had a place to put my phone and my work keys. And now I'm like wearing leggings and like sweatpants that I was wearing at home that don't always have pockets. And wearing sports bras because they're just more comfortable. So it's definitely changed for me in ways that I wouldn't have thought. So we'll see. But I am not the most fashionable person at all. So other people would be much better judge of all that. And then the other thing was with yoga and prenatal yoga. Adrian does not have any. But I have a friend who's going to have a baby in July, and she wanted help doing some prenatal yoga. So I've done some with her. And she's done it through the Down Dog app. I'm assuming you have to pay for that. But there's been some pretty interesting stuff that actually some of this prenatal yoga I can't do. And I'm like, yep, not pregnant and can't do it. But that's okay. But it's still fun. So yeah. Hope you guys are doing well. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you go, Amanda. Hope maybe you can find something that will take the stress off of your swollen foot.
That's true. Because there is slim pickings on the YouTube.
Interesting. You would think that would be a huge market. There's literally a market for everything else while you're pregnant.
But I'm very picky about my YouTube exercise people. Yeah, and particularly with yoga. And I think that's what I liked so much about yoga with Adrian is that it I hate the ones that just take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Like with the music and, the tracking shots of lotus flowers. And then it's just some terribly in shape white woman being like, okay, sink into your breath.
So
we're on a journey together. Open your heart.
So no goop yoga for you.
No. Whatever the opposite of that is. I cannot.
Oh my God. Well, thank you, Maggie. I'm sure, helpful. And anybody out there who's listening and is pregnant and needs some prenatal yoga, there you go.
Yeah. Down dog. I'll have to look into it.
All right. Well, the other thing that Amanda and I had watched was One Night in Miami, but we are actually out of time to talk about that. So perhaps in a couple of weeks when we record again. Next week we're recording last few days ago. Whatever. Okay. Real Weird Sisters. Check that out on the feed. That will be out on the feed. When that goes out on the feed, Amanda has had her baby. So she might not put it on Instagram, but that's your broadcast announcement. So stay tuned for that because we recorded with them a few days ago / next week. But if we do record again and maybe even next week, we could talk about it with Alice and Martha or last week or whatever.
I would talk about that movie all day long. Okay. I think Regina King got snubbed hard.
Yeah, it's a really great movie.
It was a beautifully directed, I don't know why we can only have one female first film female director nominee every year. I don't know why there couldn't have been two. I loved that movie, and I think she was. If that was her first movie, we have a lot to.
It had a very theater vibe for a lot of it.
It was originally a play.
Okay, well, you could tell because there was so many points where I was watching and I was like, "This would make a great play."
Yeah, it was actually
in my head.
Thanks to Wait, Don't Tell Me this week. It was written by the same person that wrote Soul.
I knew that. I saw that somewhere.
I did not know that. So they're a double Oscar nominee for two separate films.
Nice.
In 1 year.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Gotta be rare.
It's so funny because Jay had wanted to watch that movie back when it was first streaming, and we never got around to it. And when he found out that I was watching it today, he was like, "You're watching the Leslie Odom Jr. movie without me?" Like,
cold.
Like,
well, you can rewatch it, and then I can actually maybe
it's on
actually
Amazon.
watch it. And
yeah.
Boom.
It's on Amazon Prime. So
it is.
And then we got ourselves a soup.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. All right. So
I will watch it again. I loved it. I thought it was so good.
Excellent. All right. Well, on that note, everybody, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. If you have any feedback about this movie, One Night in Miami, or any other movies that you're interested in us checking out or TV shows, let us know, thebroadcasters3@gmail.com, or give us a call, 331-276-2373. We love feedback. Thank you to the patrons, especially the ones that contribute a certain level, and that would be Tack from Tokyo, Eckhart Rigner, Maggie the Magnificent, Greg the Gray, Joanne with a Plan, and Ed the Creepy Mailman. Thank you guys so much. We truly appreciate it. If you'd like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/JayandJack. And if you do that, you can actually prepay for the year. So that's an option. Those tax refunds are coming in. It's not that much money for the year.
Oh, I forgot to include that.
Get that stimmy. Sorry. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On that note, we'll see you. We'll either see you next week or we won't. Not really sure.
It'll be a mystery to us all.
You'll either hear us
surprise to us all.
But give us that feedback. We love you. Mwah. All right. Goodbye. On that note, peace out, everybody. My name is Colleen. Bye.
My name is Amanda. Goodbye.
And I'm Shandy. Ciao.